Minister of Maharashtra. Now, that was clearly a big surprise because nobody really expected this after the crisis that we saw in Maharashtra politics for over a week. This announcement came as a surprise because the expectation was that Devendra Fadnavis will be the chief minister, and we were waiting to hear who will be the deputy chief minister. And after that, there was another twist that BJP president JP Nadda had put out a tweet urging Devendra Fadnavis to be the deputy chief minister of Maharashtra. So Devendra Fadnavis, in the same frame as Eknath Shinde, which you are seeing on your screens right now, this was the press conference that happened earlier. In this press conference, Devendra Fadnavis announced that Eknath Shinde is going to be the chief minister. So at that time, we all thought that probably he is now the kingmaker. And minutes later, there was this tweet by BJP President JP Nadda urging that Devendra Fadnavis should be the deputy chief minister. Then there was a tweet by Union Home Minister Amit Shah confirming the news. So Devendra Fadnavis is now the deputy chief minister of Maharashtra. But the question is, what happens now to Uddhav Thackeray's Shiv Sena? Remember, Eknath Shinde claims support of around 39 odd MLAs, and Uddhav Thackeray's Shiv Sena has got 15 odd MLAs with him. So what happens to the camp of Uddhav Thackeray? He has resigned as the chief minister. We have a new government in place in the state of Maharashtra. Now, rebellion is something that the party, Shiv Sena specifically, has witnessed many a times in the past as well. But this time, it has challenged the identity of the Thackeray's. It has questioned the role of Matoshri, which represented Hindutva and Maharashtra pride. What happens to that? Has that been diluted with Eknath Shinde now becoming the chief minister of Maharashtra? Have Thackeray's now lost control over the city of Mumbai? Because Mumbai and Thackeray's, Mumbai and Shiv Sena were closely linked to each other. Shiv Sena has controlled the civic body as well. Remember, civic body elections are supposed to happen, in some time from now. So what happens next? What happens to Uddhav Thackeray's Shiv Sena? Who is going to be the leader of the Shiv Sena from here on? So that's going to be our focus. And what does it mean for the people of Mumbai? That's going to be our debate this evening on Mirror Now. Sanjay Dwivedi, who is leader of the Shiv Sena, is joining us on the broadcast. Smita Gupta, senior journalist, is also live with us. Aashutoshsrivastava, advocate Supreme Court, with us. And Rami Desai, author and political analyst, also on Urban Debate this evening. Good evening to all of you. Thank you for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now. Sanjay Dwivedi, let me begin the discussion with you. What happens to the significance that Matoshri had for Mumbai, the significance that Matoshri had for Maharashtra, for Shiv Sena? Has that been diluted because of what happened today, the developments of the last 24 hours, with Eknath Shinde now becoming the chief minister?
पूरी बातों का जवाब दूंगा, लेकिन जिस तरह से भारतीय जनता पार्टी संविधान की धज्जियां उड़ा रही है, वो अपने महामहिम राज्यपाल द्वारा उड़वा रही है। सबसे बड़ी जो समस्या पैदा हो गई 2014 के बाद, कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी जो है, इसको ना संविधान से मतलब है, ना किसी चीज से मतलब है। इसको एक काम से मतलब है, जैसे गोवा में सरकार तोड़ी, बनाई, मध्य प्रदेश में बनाई, यहाँ पे कर्नाटक बनाई। आज इससे 2019 में शिवसेना भाजपा गठबंधन, जब गठबंधन था, उसमें 2.5 साल के मुख्यमंत्री की बात की गई थी। आज ये 40 जो सो कॉल्ड 40, अभी 40 नहीं है, क्योंकि अभी 2/3 मेजॉरिटी प्रूव नहीं हुई है। सो कॉल्ड 40 विधायक लेके जिससे दल बदल कानून के अंतर्गत अभी 2/3 मेजॉरिटी ली भी नहीं है, और उसको महामहिम राज्यपाल मुख्यमंत्री बना रहे हैं। देखिए कितनी बड़ी विडंबना है ये इस देश की। मतलब जो आज स्पीकर है, उसके सामने 2/3 मेजॉरिटी नहीं ली। अगर ली होती 37 से, तो शायद मुख्यमंत्री बनना उचित था, या भाजपा समर्थन देती ना देती। लेकिन उस समय भाजपा ने शिवसेना को समर्थन नहीं दिया। आज क्या काम किया शिवसेना? आज क्या भारतीय जनता पार्टी क्या किया? देखिए नीति सब छोड़ चुकी भारतीय जनता पार्टी। उसके बाद एक काम है कि पहले कांग्रेस मुक्त भारत बनाओ, अब महाराष्ट्र में शिवसेना मुक्त भारत बनाओ। अरे भाई, आप पढ़े लिखे हैं, आपको संवैधानिक विचार, आपके वकील आपके पास बड़े बड़े पढ़े हुए हैं, उनसे पूछिए कोई सिंधे के एकदम से शिवसेना के राष्ट्रीय प्रमुख बन जाएंगे? ये कहाँ का नियम है ये? अरे संविधान कोई होता है, जो संविधान लोग बनाया गया है, चुनाव आयोग द्वारा वो संविधान को मानता ही नहीं है। जो चाहे वो कह दे साहब मैं 40 विधायक 20 विधायक लेके हम अलग हो गए और मैं शिवसेना हूँ, तो शिवसेना ऐसे नहीं होता है भाई। चुनाव आयोग एक नियम है जिससे पार्टियां चल रही हैं, वरना तो हर आदमी 4 दिन बाद खड़ा हो जाएगा कि साहब मैं बीजेपी में हूँ, मैं सपा हूँ, मैं भाई सब उत्तर प्रदेश में हुआ था ना, शिवपाल जी कह रहे थे मैं, अखिलेश यादव जी कह रहे थे मैं, आखिर में कौन जीता? आखिरी में जीते अखिलेश यादव जी। तो मैं वही कह रहा हूँ कि ये जो तरीके सरकार बनाई गई, ये बिल्कुल संवैधानिक है।
बीजेपी Okay, it is unconstitutional is what you are saying, and BJP is behind what has happened in the state of Maharashtra. Just like, according to you, just like BJP wants country to be Congress mukt, you are saying that this is an attempt to ensure that Maharashtra is, does not have the dominance of a party like Shiv Sena. But then there is Eknath Shinde and his faction, which calls himself the real Shiv Sena, and who is now the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Smita Gupta. Why do you think BJP backed Eknath Shinde for the Chief Minister's post?
Since the BJP was unable to form the government after the last assembly elections, it has been working on how to get back in Maharashtra. Maharashtra is important politically and commercially. It is the richest state in the country. So today, their game plan really is to regain control of Maharashtra and to regain the Hindutva space that it was sharing with the Sena. And I think through this clever arrangement of pushing Eknath Shinde forward as the chief minister and Devendra Fadnavis as deputy chief minister, we know, everybody knows that Devendra Fadnavis will be the real chief minister. He'll be the backseat driver in this government. The object really of the BJP is to swallow up the Sena, and through this arrangement where it will have 100 MLAs, to the Eknath Shinde factions, 50 odd MLAs, will provide the setting for this transformation. Because we know that the other political parties in the state now, Uddhav Thackeray is in a very difficult position. He will have to go back to the drawing board and see whether he can draw, play on the sentiments of Shiv Sainiks in the state, recall the memories of his father, Bala Saheb Thackeray. It's a hard and difficult path that he will have to tread. As far as the Congress is concerned, it's going to, I think, wither away, just as it's withering away in other parts of the country without power, which is one of the reasons why the Congress was keen on being part of this government in the first place when after the last elections. Because it knows that without power, it is nothing. And the NCP also, under a sort of, ailing Sharad Pawar, is also going to find it tough. We have already seen today Sanjay Raut being questioned by the Enforcement Directorate. And I'm sure in the coming days, we will see the agency, giving notices to other members of the Congress, NCP, and the Uddhav Thackeray, Sena, whoever can. So they will be, so those three parties are going to be in a very difficult position. The two parties in power, BJP and the Shinde Sena. Now Shinde's work is not over, because Shinde now will also have to prove that he is the real Sena. Will he get the party symbol? We have yet to see, because he will have to prove not only that he has a majority in the legislature, but that he has a majority of the office bearers, majority in all the bodies of decision-making bodies of the party. It's a long and complicated process.
Yes.
Which may end with nobody getting the symbol, or he may get the symbol, or, it's all uncertain. And we still don't know whether the rank and file of the party is with Eknath Shinde or not. So it is a BJP which is in a good position.
Okay, interesting. BJP seems to be the gainer here. That's your view. Rami Desai, in a way, the message is that Sena government has been replaced by Sena government only. But the way it has been done, the way Eknath Shinde has claims to have support of more Sena MLAs at this point in time, do you think this has diluted the importance Matoshri had in Mumbai, in Maharashtra specifically, as far as Shiv Sena is concerned?
Good evening, Hina. Let me say at the outset, I think the recent tweet by Raj Thackeray sums up the situation rather well. He says in his tweet that when anyone misunderstands good fortune for one's personal accomplishment, therein begins the journey towards one's decline. And I think that's exactly what's happened. Mr. Thackeray mistook his good luck for the people's mandate and not a betrayal of the mandate. And he almost like dictatorially expected his cadre, Bala Sahib's loyalists, mind you, not his loyalists, to follow his balancing act for his pleasure and for his pursuit of his personal ambition. Now, this sort of blatant disrespect for ideology and I think miscalculation of the sentiments of the party's cadre, divergence from the core values of the Hindutva that represented your party was, because of a couple of reasons. I think one of it was, and I think this is a fairly important psychological reason, that Mr. Uddhav Thackeray was completely hedonistic. He thought that this was, that people would follow him irrespective of what he chose to do, Number two, which has become evident, is that he was completely incompetent as a leader. And this is the reason why he failed to take into account what was the driving force of the party, which was the Hindutva. Now, also number three, and which is the final point, that the unshakable belief that he had that he is the party and not the ideology. And I think that pretty much was the final nail in the coffin. And the last time I was on your channel, I had clearly said that this is the beginning of the extinction of a Thackeray-led Shiv Sena. And it is so because one has to understand that Uddhav or Aditya Thackeray didn't build the party. It was Bala Sahib. And the cadre is emotional about him and what he represented, not what Mr. Uddhav Thackeray has represented and what we have seen in his short years in power. See, greater dynasties have ended, and so shall this. And I agree with Smita that he really needs to introspect. I think he has a tough road ahead, and I personally don't think that he will be able to see this through, because he was never known as a person with leadership qualities. He was never somebody that commanded the kind of popularity that Bala Sahib did. And this was something of a fluke. So I think at the end of the day, all the Thackeray clan can do is introspect tonight and accept the fact that people don't follow a leader if it doesn't represent something that appeals to them. And that is exactly what has happened. Now, some are also saying that Uddhav Thackeray will maybe call a truce and, with Eknath Shinde, now that he's the chief minister. I don't think that's going to happen, because truly there will be extreme trust deficit. And of course, Mr. Shinde also has much to prove as of now. But the fact still remains that this situation happened, and that is an indicator of the power that Uddhav maybe assumed that he had has diminished. And of course, we are all here to see what happens. But I think BJP's role in ending this legacy is, of course, certain. And, I think we will also see in time that the BJP is not really a minor supporter in this partnership, I think Mr. Fadnavis knows this state very well. I think he has played this entire game out really well. And I think it is going to look really dignified and democratic with what he has accepted as a deputy chief minister. So I think, right now with the Shiv Sena, there is, with the older Shiv Sena, which is Uddhav Thackeray Shiv Sena, I think there's a lot to be seen, and it depends entirely on how Mr. Uddhav Thackeray and his son play this out, introspect, realize that they are not a party. But having said that, I think Mr. Shinde and the BJP have a good chance ahead.
Okay, interesting. Aashutoshsrivastava, I'll come to you in just a bit. A very quick question I have for Smita Gupta. Smita, we've been hearing about this a lot, that BJP wanted to not make it look as if BJP is trying to usurp power. And when the announcement was made by Mr. Devendra Fadnavis, when he was sharing the stage with Mr. Eknath Shinde, when he announced that Eknath Shinde, in fact, is going to be the chief minister at that time, do you think he was aware that he himself was going to be the deputy chief minister?
Because otherwise he would not have said that he would stay outside. I think because I think Devendra Fadnavis's logic at that stage must have been, I have been chief minister. I should not, take up a secondary position in this government, since it was very clear that they were going to make Eknath Shinde the chief minister. Because of, as I said, the reason being that they didn't want to look power hungry. But I think the leadership of the BJP realized that, Eknath Shinde, after all, is not no pushover. We have seen him over the last few weeks. He's he's an ambitious and strong man. So, the other BJP ministers in the government who will be accommodated in the government would not have had the, let us say, the position or the status to be able to challenge Eknath Shinde's decisions within the government. Outside the government, Devendra Fadnavis would not have access to files, would not, even, I mean, if it was done, it would have to be done.
So the idea was to stay in power without trying to show that they are after power in this particular rebellion, the way it was done. Mr. Aashutoshsrivastava, now the writing was on the wall, as Rami Desai also mentioned, because in a way we all understand how Uddhav Thackeray had, put aside ideological identity, became secular when Shiv Sena under Uddhav Thackeray did this alliance with NCP and the Congress party. The role of cadres is going to be very, very important, even though Eknath Shinde today claims that he has a support of about 40-odd MLAs. But what about the cadre? And of course, the matter is in the Supreme Court too. So is it going to be easy? What are the options in front of him?
See, obviously the matter which is pending in the Supreme Court, that's a separate matter as of now regarding the disqualification of the MLAs who rebelled. Now the question arises as to how the party will further continue and who will take up the party, who will get the symbol of the party. These are the legal questions at present. Now, to answer that, we have to see two of the acts. One is the Representation of the People's Act 1951, duly amended from time to time. And the second one is the Symbols Order 1968. Now, the first such kind of a split which happened in the country was in the year 1964, when the CPI, they wanted to be converted and recognized as a new party to be CPI Marxist. And they approached the Election Commission of India, which has the powers to do so as per the then act, that is the Representation of People's Act, which is now also in existence. But that time, the other act, that is the Symbols Order 1968, was not there. And considering the support of the MLAs and MPs across the country, the Election Commission of India decided to recognize the party as CPIM. And later, when this new act was formed, when it became operational in the year 1968, that is the Symbols Order 1968, as I said, then in the year 1969, thereafter, there was another split in the Congress, that is Indian National Congress. And that happened because there was a death of the then President, Mr. Zakir Hussain. and thereafter to elect another president, there was dispute in the party, and Indira Gandhi ji had supported that time Sri V.V. Giri to be the next president. However, the other group, that is Nija Lingurappa, they supported the other person called Mr. Some other person he was. So, but the dispute continued. He was Reddy, Mr. Reddy, but the dispute continued, and Mr. Giri became the president. But thereafter, the party got split and became like Congress O, led by Najir Lingurappa, and the other one, Congress J, by Indira. And accordingly, the symbols were given, separate symbols were given to both of them, depending on the support of the parties they had across the country. Because it is a national party, so we have to consider here that it is not only the MLAs, but the entire, the party workers and basically the elected MLAs and MPs. And the same kind of strategy or, a kind of, it was actually followed by the Election Commission of India till 1997. And in 1997, Election Commission of India came up with a different thought process, stating that since these candidates are fighting elections based on the symbol of the original party, that is before the division of the party, and then they are shifting. So in that case, the splitting party, the splitting group should have the different symbol, and the original party should have the existing symbol. However, now, again, we have seen in the case of LJP recently, this month only, when they, had the split and they went with the ruling party. So in this case, Election Commission of India decided that both these groups will have different symbols. They had a symbol of some bungalow or something, which it is stated that you cannot use it, and you both will have different symbols for the coming by-polls. So basically, all these powers have been vested with the Election Commission of India to decide as to who should get the symbol. Election Commission of India has also clarified.
So all eyes are now
past,
going to be on what the Election Commission is going to do, because symbol, of course, it will be very, very important. Yes. I'm completely out of time, but I'd like to thank all my guests for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now this evening. We'll, of course, be tracking this very closely ahead as well with you. Thank you for the moment for joining us. In fact, Dr. S.Y. Qureshi, former Chief Election Commissioner, is also now joining us on the broadcast. And as Mr. Ashutosh mentioned, the role of Election Commission now comes into the picture. Dr. Qureshi, thank you for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Many are saying climax is over, but picture abhi baki hai. Lot is supposed to happen. The question that I want to ask you is, will Mr. Eknath Shinde be able to get the party symbol? Because since the beginning, since he began the rebellion, he's been claiming that the group that he has with him, the group that he represents today, is the real Shiv Sena.
Yeah. The important thing is that the Election Commission does not look only at the number of MLAs and MLCs or even MPs. They are supposed to see the organizational structure also. Who is the organization? Now, in this case, Mr. Shinde may have tempted 40 MLAs, as if people say, with money or with a promise for ministership. And that doesn't mean that beyond these 40, the Shiv Sena has changed loyalty. Maybe Shiv Sena loyalists and the organizing committee is different. So they will have a look at both those things. What if the entire the organizational structure is with Mr. Thackeray? In which case the Election Commission will have a difficult choice, because they have to balance both these things. Normally it is MLAs and MLCs, but they are supposed to see organization also, and we still don't know where the organization stands.
Dr. Qureshi, can Mr. Shinde lay claim to Sena symbol as of today?
Yes.
He claims at least the support of the MLAs right now.
Yes. That is what he will claim. The position is that the Election Commission doesn't recognize two parties split after the split. splinter 1, splinter 2. He decide which is the party. So the people with majority, they become the party. Eknath Shinde may become the party, in which case the other party is supposed to register itself as a new party. It is only in a situation when suppose the election is due next month and both the factions want to contest election. In that case, as an interim arrangement, the commission says, all right, you are faction 1, you are faction B, and your main party symbol is frozen. We give you both individual temporary symbols so that you can fight election. But the question who constitutes the party will still stay. In fact, it's an old Supreme Court decision by Justice Khanna that it is not like a property dispute between co-owners and that how much property goes to whom and how much goes to the other. It is total or nil. The entire party will go with the winner, and the loser will have to go for a formation of a new party.
So you're saying that Mr. Eknath Shinde's fate still hangs in the balance because he will definitely need support of the, office bearers of other sections of the party as well. For example, Dr. Qureshi, I remember that last such incident, similar incident was in the state of Uttar Pradesh, where Akhilesh Yadav, when he had applied for the party symbol, he had the support of 2/3 of the MLAs, he had the support of 2/3 of the MPs, then, office bearers, 2/3 of them at least were supporting him. But in this case, do you still think that there is a possibility that Mr. Eknath Shinde might not get the symbol that he is eyeing?
Yeah, in the case of Samajwadi, which you are recalling, Mulayam Singh Yadav faction, they did not contest at all. They did not produce any affidavit. They did not produce any numbers, which is what made the election commission's job easy. They saw the documents produced by Akhilesh and immediately recognized him as the party. In this case, I don't think Uddhav Thackeray is going to concede very easily because party may still be with him. In which context I see that Eknath Shinde becoming chief minister actually is a masterstroke, because if he was not made the chief minister, Samaj, the Shiv Sainik would have felt that because of him, Shiv Sena has lost the chief ministership, has lost the government to another party. So I think BJP has moved very smartly by making him the chief minister, despite his smaller numbers, for just 40.
Interesting. Dr. Qureshi, in last decade, we have seen several such instances which have shown how 10th schedule has been used and misused. Do you think that needs to be fortified? Because the formula seems to be that, reduce the strength of the House by disqualifying the MLAs and hence ensure the other party wins.
Absolutely. They have been making attempt to bring in anti-defection law and make it stiffer, but nothing is working. Now, imagine 40, all you need to do buy 40 MLAs in the case of Maharashtra, whatever the price, even if it is 100 crores. Now, what is 4,000 crores to bring down a government? Now, 4,000 crores they will earn in 1 hour. So, and all that the MLAs need to do, just abstain. They all resign and stay at home. Now, I'm sure many people would be happy to be given 100 crores and stay at home forever. So otherwise, what is happening in the current law, the defect, that they are brought back, they are disqualified, they have to recontest the election. Within 3 months, another election is held and they contest, this time on a different party ticket, and they win. So it is just, as I had once mentioned in an article, it is just a detour. After 3 months, they come back. There should be a ban for at least 6 months. 6 years. If for 6 years they will not become minister, 6 years they can not recontest election, you will find at least some deterrence there.
So some sort of changes clearly are needed. Dr. Qureshi, thank you very much for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now. Of